Welcome to Evergreen Hollow, a place where the clouds drift low over ancient woods and the whispers of its ever-curious inhabitants dance in the air. It's a village where every leaf and stone holds a story, and every path winds deeper into secrets waiting to unfold. Here, the trees seem to listen, and the birds sing tales older than time. Under a warm golden sky, the main square of Evergreen Hollow buzzes with life. Merchants call out their wares while children chase each other through the narrow cobblestone streets. Surrounding the village are dense woods known as the Whispering Pines, where few dare venture, for strange sounds echo after dark. By the edge of the woods stands a quaint little house with a crooked chimney and a garden overrun by wildflowers. Inside lives a curious girl named Emma, who always feels the woods calling her. Across the square, an old clockmaker, Mr. Alden, tinkers with peculiar inventions in his workshop. The two share a peculiar bond. They've both dreamed of the same silvery stag deep within the forest. One sunny morning, Emma visited Mr. Alden to discuss her latest discovery. "Emma, Mr. Alden, I found this feather yesterday near the woods. It glimmers like moonlight. What could it be?" Mr. Alden, Emma, that looks like a feather from the Luminon. They say it guides lost souls in the forest. Did you hear anything strange when you found it?" Emma shook her head, but her eyes were wide with curiosity. "No sounds, but I felt like the trees were watching me." Mr. Alden chuckled, though his tone was cautious. "The woods always watch, my dear. But you must tread carefully. The Luminon feathers aren't just decorations. They hold power. Some say they are keys." Emma's heart quickened. "Keys to what?" The old clockmaker adjusted his glasses and whispered, "That depends on what door you're willing to open." As Emma pondered his words, a shadow flitted across the shop's window, and a faint sound, a little distant, audible, echoed from the woods. The air grew still, and both of them turned toward the sound. Emma turned toward the window, her heart racing. "Did you hear that, Mr. Alden? It sounded like a bell?" Mr. Alden squinted, his hands resting on the workbench. "A bell, you say? That's no ordinary sound. The forest has its own music, and it only plays when something or someone important arrives." Emma stepped closer to the window, clutching the shimmering feather. The sound echoed again, faint but clear, like wind passing through crystal. What if it's calling me?" she whispered, half to herself. Mr. Alden frowned. "If it is, you must prepare. The Whispering Pines don't call just anyone, Emma. Take this." He reached into a drawer, pulling out a small brass compass. It was old, but intricately engraved with swirling patterns. "This compass doesn't point north. It points to what you need most." Emma took the compass, her eyes wide. "How does it work?" The old man smiled faintly. "By trust. You'll know when to follow it, but, Emma," his voice turned serious, "don't go alone. The forest has ways of testing those who wander. Later that day, as the village grew quiet, Emma sat on the edge of her garden, the feather in one hand and the compass in the other. She stared at the dark line of trees in the distance. "I can't ignore it," she murmured. A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Finn, the blacksmith's apprentice, his hands smudged with soot, but his grin bright as ever. "Talking to yourself again, Emma? What's that in your hand?" "Emma, Finn, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I think the forest is calling me." Finn raised an eyebrow. "The forest? You mean the same one where Old Man Derry got lost for 3 days and came back talking about glowing wolves and dancing shadows?" Emma nodded, her expression firm. "Exactly that one. Something's out there, and I think I need to find it." Finn looked at her for a moment, then let out a sigh. "Well, you're not going alone. Someone's got to keep you from walking straight into a trap. Besides, I've been wanting an adventure." Emma smiled, relief washing over her. "Thank you, Finn. Let's go at dawn, and bring something sharp, just in case." As the first light of morning spilled over the village, Emma and Finn stood at the edge of the woods. The compass needle spun wildly before settling on a direction. Emma held her breath and took the first step into the forest, the feather glowing faintly in her pocket. Behind them, the villagers watched from a distance, murmuring quietly. Among them was Mr. Alden, who whispered to himself, "Good luck, children. The whispering pines don't give their secrets freely." Ahead, the forest seemed alive, the trees whispering secrets only they could hear. A faint shimmer darted through the shadows. Was it the Luminon? Emma and Finn ventured deeper into the forest, their footsteps muffled by the thick carpet of moss. The air grew cooler, and the sunlight dimmed as the trees closed ranks above them, their branches knitting into a canopy that filtered the world into shades of green and gold. The compass in Emma's hand glowed faintly now, its needle pointing unerringly forward. "It's leading us somewhere," she said, her voice hushed as if the forest itself were listening. Finn glanced around, gripping the hilt of the small dagger he'd brought. "Let's hope it's somewhere friendly. This place feels alive." Suddenly, a soft chime rang out again, closer this time. Both froze. "Finn, there it is again, that bell sound. Emma, are you sure this is a good idea?" "Emma, I'm not sure of anything, but we can't turn back now. Look." She pointed ahead, where the trees thinned, revealing a glade bathed in silvery light. At its center stood a massive, ancient tree with a hollow at its base. The hollow pulsed faintly, as though it were breathing. The compass needle quivered, then stopped entirely, pointing straight at the hollow. "Finn, you're not seriously thinking of going in there, are you?" "Emma, it's what the compass wants me to do. Maybe the answers are inside." She pulled the glowing feather from her pocket, its light intensifying as she approached the tree. As they reached the edge of the glade, a soft rustling sound made them turn. Out of the shadows stepped a creature unlike anything they had ever seen. A fox, with fur that shimmered like starlight and eyes that glowed a deep, knowing blue. It regarded them silently, tilting its head as if studying their intentions. Emma, is that normal forest wildlife where you're from?" Emma shook her head slowly. "Not at all." The fox stepped closer, its movements smooth and deliberate. Then, to their astonishment, it spoke, its voice soft and melodic. "Travelers, why have you come to the heart of the whispering pines?" Both of them stared in stunned silence until Finn found his voice. Did, did, did that fox just talk? Emma, her curiosity outweighing her fear, took a step forward. "We're following this." She held up the feather. "The compass led us here. Do you know what it means?" The fox's eyes gleamed brighter. "A luminon feather, rare and precious. It chooses only the brave or the foolish. Your journey has just begun. But the question is, do you know what you seek?" Emma hesitated. I'm not sure. I just felt I needed to come here." The fox's gaze softened, and it sat down gracefully. "Then you must decide. The hollow before you leads to truths, but truths are never without cost. What lies beyond is not for the faint-hearted. Step inside, and your path will change forever. Turn back, and you may keep your life as it is." Emma looked at Finn, who looked as uncertain as she felt. "What do we do?" she whispered. Finn shrugged, trying to mask his nervousness. "You're the one with the feather and the magical compass, Emma. I just work with metal. But I'll follow you, whatever you decide." The fox rose, its glowing eyes piercing. "The door will not remain open long. Choose wisely, travelers." Emma took a deep breath, clutching the feather tightly. "We've come this far, Finn. I have to see what's inside." Finn groaned, muttering, "Well, if we get eaten by some glowing monster, I'm blaming you." But he followed her as she stepped cautiously toward the ancient tree. The hollow pulsed again, a warm, inviting light spilling out like liquid moonlight. As Emma approached, the feather in her hand began to hum softly, vibrating with an energy that sent tingles up her arm. She glanced at Finn, who gave her a shaky thumbs up, then stepped into the hollow. The world spun, colors blurred and swirled, like a kaleidoscope caught in a storm. For a moment, Emma felt as though she were falling, her stomach lurching as the light engulfed her. When the sensation stopped, she found herself standing in a vast open space under a sky unlike any she had ever seen. The air shimmered with hues of violet and gold, and strange glowing plants swayed in an invisible breeze. Beside her, Finn stumbled, his eyes wide with shock. "Finn, what? Where are we? This doesn't look like any forest I've ever seen." Emma turned in a slow circle, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't think we're in the forest anymore." The fox's voice echoed around them, though the creature was nowhere in sight. "You are in the realm of echoes, where memories and dreams take form. Only those with a purpose can navigate its paths. Your feather is your guide. But beware, this realm does not forgive aimlessness." As they took in their surroundings, the glowing plants began to shift, forming a faint path. Emma held the feather before her, and it glowed brighter, confirming the direction. "Emma, I think we're supposed to follow this path." Nah, great. A path made of glowing weeds. Just what I needed today. But he stayed close, his dagger ready in his hand. The path led them to a shimmering lake, its surface so still it reflected the strange sky perfectly. Standing at its edge was a figure cloaked in silver, their face hidden beneath a hood. In one hand, they held a staff that seemed to pulse with the same light as Emma's feather. The figure turned toward them, their voice calm but commanding. "Travelers, you carry the feather of the Luminon. State your purpose, or the lake will not grant you passage." Emma, her heart racing, stepped forward. We're searching for answers. I don't know exactly what, but I was drawn here. Please, can you help us?" The figure tilted their head. "Answers come at a price. The lake reflects truth, but only to those who are ready to see it. Will you look?" "Finn, hold on a second. Look at what? What happens if we're not ready?" The figure's silence was chilling. Finally, they said, "The lake reveals what you hide, from others and from yourself. It is not kind, but it is honest. Do you dare to look?" Emma glanced at Finn, who seemed torn between worry and his ever-present loyalty. "What do you think?" she asked. Finn shook his head. "I think this whole forest is trying to mess with us. But if you're going to look, I'll look too. We're in this together." Emma smiled gratefully, then turned back to the figure. "We'll look." The figure stepped aside, gesturing toward the lake. "Then see." As Emma and Finn peered into the water, its surface rippled, and images began to take shape. They saw shadows of their past, moments they had tried to forget, and flickers of a future that felt impossibly distant. A chill ran down Emma's spine as a familiar silhouette, a stag, silvery and ethereal, appeared in the water. Its eyes bore into hers, and its antlers seemed to grow, stretching beyond the edges of the lake. The stag's mouth opened, and though no sound came, Emma felt the words echo in her mind. "Find the source. The feather will guide you, but the path is yours to make." The images vanished as the lake returned to stillness. Emma turned to Finn, her voice trembling. "Did you see it? The stag?" Finn nodded, his face pale. "Yeah, I saw it, but what does it mean?" Before they could say more, the figure spoke again. "Your journey begins now. Follow the feather, but beware. The realm is not without dangers. Trust each other, or you will be lost." The shimmering plants reformed into a new path, winding deeper into the strange, glowing landscape. The feather pulsed warmly in Emma's hand, pointing the way.